Thanks, everybody. We're going to go ahead and call back to order. And our CRA chair has asked me to just go ahead and continue to chair this meeting since it's so short. We only have really one agenda item. So since this is not a standard meeting, there'll be no public comments today. Oh, by the way, we're convened now as the CRA. So CRA board. And since since it's not a general meeting, we won't have any public hearings today. Please join the board on April 8th, 2025 to make comments. We will go to our only item of business, which is a community reinvestment, which is the Meade Avenue underpass. We've got Danny Walls here. We've got Jen Bruno to answer questions. Do we have Doug Flagler? Oh, hey, how are you? Come on up. Yeah, sure, have a seat. Oh, and Nick Romano. Yes, thank you. Thanks for being here. Let's see.
Mr. Chair, I can give a brief update and then maybe if Darren wants to jump in and then maybe the community can jump in. This project, I think, originated with the Central 9th Community Council to activate an underpass under the 9th South / Meade Avenue bridge that's there. And so this is a proposal to have a straw poll to have RDA staff, CRA staff, work and evaluate whether State Street intervention funds are appropriate to contribute to this project. Councilmember Mono.
Yeah, great. I think you appreciate that. This is underneath the underpass there, that 9th South off ramp of I-15. There's been interest in trying to remove that over the years. That came up with some hard no's that wasn't going to be able to happen. And it's been a place where there's been a lot of encampments and different things happening under there, safety issues. But this group is looking at doing something very similar to like what we've seen on some of our RDA trips and in other cities, where taking underpasses and turning them into basically public space for recreation. And they've already done a lot of work to clean it up. They painted the pillars. There's actually a lot of energy that's gone into that. And so this is one of those projects that has some complications because it's not city-owned land, it's UDOT-owned land, but UDOT's a willing partner in doing this activation. And typically, in the time I've been on the council, I've probably had 30 different projects that came, and it's like, this is a really great idea, but it just doesn't fit the box. And there's no other funding source. In this case, because it's in an RDA project area, a CRA project area, and we have the strategic intervention fund, in my mind, it's actually the ideal use of strategic intervention funds, where we have a project that couldn't be funded using the typical CIP process or other things, but really will make a big difference in reactivating a target area within our city. So I think Danny has some more information, and the applicant may have some more information to share.
I think of everyone at this table, I am the last person you want to hear from. So I am happy to answer any questions. I think Jen, you and Councilmember Mono have done a great job setting it up. Happy to answer any questions as it relates to the CRA and our budget process and what we're asking you as a board in terms of a straw poll. But I would be among everyone who would love to turn over to Doug, Ms. Romano, for presentation and the project. So thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much. Thank you for your continued support of the Central 9th and Ballpark neighborhoods with the CRA. We couldn't do this without you guys, so the city's been such a great partner. With the underpass, we feel like we just have so much energy, and there's just a lot of people right now involved in what we're doing under the underpass. We did a cleanup last fall, and really we got UDOT who's been a great partner with us, and I can't say enough great things about Robert Stewart, who is the director, the Region 2 director of UDOT, who has been pushing us and helping us this whole process as we've been looking to redefine and kind of take back some of that space under the underpass. right now we have a group of about, a dozen people that are meeting every other week that are looking at ways to activate this space, that are looking at unique solutions to, for this summer, we have a Love Your Block grant. We have ACE funding that we've received to do things all summer long in this space. And plus, we continue to have cleanup. As Darren mentioned, we painted the pillars, but we are just looking to transform the space. If you're familiar with Central 9th, the off-ramp there really does bisect our neighborhood. It creates a barrier between the northern half and the southern half. And the northern half is where all of our restaurants and our community spaces are, and the southern half is more residential, and that's where the park is. So the residents on the north have a hard time getting to the park. Residents on the south have a hard time visiting the community spaces. And so last fall, with the support of Tamara Mateus, she's one of our members of the council here, and Carrie Nakamura, who leads our underpass subcommittee, and Landon Karzak, he is a graduate student at the U of U. We did this big cleanup and moved the fences back and really made such a huge difference in the space, and we're already seeing it this spring that the space is different from what we've seen in past springs, with the amount of visibility and people actually out using the sidewalk on that side of the block. Before, nobody ever used the sidewalk over there because it was literally weeds 6 feet tall. That was a great hiding space for different nefarious things. But we really have a great group of people that are working to transform the space. Landon, our U of U grad student, he has created plans and drawn ideas from that. And we now have GSBS architects that is working to do detailed renderings of what could be under that space. And that's kind of where Nick came in. He approached us after seeing our cleanup back last October and said, hey, I think futsal would be a really great use of this space. And so I'll kind of let him talk about what the futsal portion of this would entail.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I wrote a little bit down here just to take note, but I'm Nick Raimondo. I'm here representing Rise Athletics Foundation. What we do is try to make soccer more accessible in our communities. One of the ways we do that is taking underutilized flat surfaces or areas that aren't being used and turn them into street soccer courts, futsal courts, to have safe and free places for kids, adults to play. I saw this area as a key location, being next to the 9 South rail station, the 9 line, bike line, easy accessible areas to get to. And again, to be active with our community, our kids, our adults. It's been all over these courts are all over the world. It has been proven to bring community together, to bring cultures together. As you know, soccer is a huge component and a sport in our world. We're getting the 2026 World Cup here next year, and I think it's just going to get bigger. And the love for this sport, I've seen it. I've been lucky enough to play it for a really long time, and I've seen it, on the fields, on the courts, in the kids' faces, the joy it brings them, and to have these courts available for the community, especially in this area, I think will be massive. It doesn't matter how big they are, how small they are. The kids just want to play this game, and if we could bring that to our community, I think it'd be a win-win.
And I want to thank Nick for his support with his foundation and Real Salt Lake and the Miller Family Foundation and several local donors. We have raised over $15,000 to fund futsal and activation projects under the underpass for this summer. And what we are looking for is kind of more support and more funding to make some of these things like futsal permanent under the underpass. Because right now our visions are big, and we're being told by UDOT and others to have big dreams for this space, because ultimately, whatever we can get done now could be things that are going to help people for decades to come. We really, right now, it's just kind of the perfect nexus of support from several groups and a community that's really involved and wants to see things happen here. I also want to thank the mayor's staff for putting lighting under the underpass and funding trees to go along the park strip for this space. So there's just so many things that we have going on in this space right now.
Sorry, I'd just like to say that we put 2 of these courts in Centennial Park in West Valley last November, and Paramount Plus just came out and did a feature on us, and the lady that runs that, Jamie Young, came out and asked if we could put lights in it because it's used all the time. So it's proven here in Utah that kids will use these courts, and kids want to be active, and if you build it, they will come. As cliche as that sounds, to know that there's lights there and people will be using these courts will be massive for our community.
Councilmember Dugan, and then
Thank
Petro.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Councilmember Mono, for bringing this up. I kind of had recollections of this area, but this morning after one of my meetings, I went and drove by Mead. But first thing, very nice job cleaning up. I love the pillars, the colors, the bright blue on the pillars. And when I heard about the footsalls, I was like, oh, this would be perfect, especially since you already have like a top. So in the summertime, it may be a little bit cooler just because you got the roof of the overpass there, and you add some benches and you add some trees to that area, and I think it would be a perfect location for a futsal court. Boy, I'd love to have these, if you get 2 in there, but it'd be at least 1, this would be great. But I really appreciate that, and I fully support the movement going forward, because I think this is a great avenue and a great use of space that is not being used in the right manner. So I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Petro.
Fully 1,000% supportive. Can I ask, though, I don't know if it would be our staff or if it's a request of RDA staff. Councilmember Pui and I actually got very aggressive reaction from our constituents when we suggested something similar. They suggested that it would increase instances of camping and other negative things in the area, and we know from our experiences that that's not true. But you've mentioned that this is a site that in your neighborhood is attracting negative things. It's attracting the loitering, the camping, all of those things. I'd love it if, as we allocate this money, could we create a baseline to understand how many calls for service, things like that, and could we ask for reporting on instances of uses if those calls go down? I really believe that this is a trend that is the future of urban spaces, and I fully believe that the West Side deserves it, and that maybe we just haven't made the case well enough. I literally was told that the threat was a gift to me from a constituent because he was so intimately acquainted with what this sort of development would do. So I love that you all are doing this. Thank you for being the tip of the spear for our city. Thank you, Darren and RDA staff, for being creative and finding a way to make this work. But can I ask that we make the data collection and the reporting happen so that we don't quarantine this as another benefit that only goes to the area of the city bold enough to try this and can become available to all of us?
I will support that. I was going to say something similar, so maybe I just jump the line and get it over with. But I wanted to, this is something that I value, and I think that there is opportunities like this across the city. In my part of town and our part of town, there is fewer crossings than any other parts of town under the freeway. When the I-15 discussion came up, there was an opportunity brought up about opening more spaces to connect the 2 parts of town, and many members of the community thought that was the most horrendous idea, even if they brought amenities like democratizing, football and actual football, and to our kids, and or make open spaces, or and it was the fear of the unknown. And but I would like to add to that data tracking, if there is a way of documenting, the before and after, and the activity. The data is important, but I think the visual changes, I think they're shocking. And I hope that more communities, even in our own neighborhoods, can see the value of this. So thank you for bringing that about. Thank you.
Lopez Chavez.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, too. I just want to acknowledge the Central Ninth Community Council and their work. I think we've seen over a decade this community evolve drastically from zoning to the type of footprints and businesses opening up. I'm very excited by our uses and creation of third space and creating different places where social determinants of health can be expanded upon and utilized in a way where the community brought this to us. So I really appreciate that this was fruition. And Carrie Nakamura is not here, so I do want to say, hi, Carrie. I know you're on vacation. We're doing the heavy lifting for you now, so thank you for leading this. But thank you to Doug, thank you to Nick, thank you to everybody else from the C9 board that has committed their time. It looks like a straw poll is what they're requesting, so I think we're ready to move on to that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Chair, if it's all right, I propose a straw poll that we release $50,000 of the State Street Strategic Intervention Funds for the construction improvements as part of the Meet Up program, with the contingent upon execution of agreements with UDOT and Salt Lake City for the use of the space, and just ensuring that that Danny and his team make sure that we know where the money's going and who's using it and how that's going to take place, because there's a little bit of figuring out that needs to happen.
Will you be okay if I add some to that, to the point of not increasing a lot of work from your team, but trying to document as much of the improvements and the before and after on that process as part of this money being released?
So is that a request that the community council group documents that and
releases as much of the photos and documentation
reports.
Improvement to us?
Are you okay with that, Doug?
Yeah, I'm great with that. We already have a lot of documentation. We actually started with a walking tour with the mayor last April and have a great community photo that shows the before on that. So,
thank you.
Great, then amendment accepted.
Okay, everyone understand the straw poll? Okay, all in favor? Great. That's unanimous thumbs up. All right, thank you so much.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.